The wait for the Elder Scrolls 6 is getting difficult, ladies and gentlemen. I feel like we are constantly, and when I say we, I mean me, I feel like I'm constantly on the lookout for new games that are quote-unquote Scrolls-like, and they're very hard to find. No, this list is not going to be about some of the games that you may have already heard before, like, oh, Dragon Age or Dark Souls or anything like that. No, these are going to be first-person RPG games that I myself has played, as well as some of the games that my livestream viewers suggested to me not too long ago. Scrolls-like games are pretty hard to come by, I think, and I think a big part of that is just because the magnitude of Elder Scrolls games are hard to replicate. But some of these I'm about to share, like, they kind of had that same magnitude. Others aren't on that level at all, but they still play really well and are a ton of fun. So without further ado, here's 5 games that will hold you over for the next 20 years. Yeah, 20 years while we wait for the next Elder Scrolls game. Also, stick around until the end because I have a few honorable mentions I think you'll like as well. Number 1. Voin. This game's cool as hell. It's like open world medieval Doom / extraction game with really good movement abilities. The movement for me is the best part about the game, I think. You know, throughout the world, there's these anchor points. You can kind of sort of teleport to them to get around better. Also, there's no fall damage. Instead, you actually do damage to the enemies around you whenever you land on the ground. I'm not going to bore you with the premise or the story of any of these games or anything like that. I'm just going to talk about the gameplay and what it's like. I will say that in my opinion, the combat feels heavier than most games, meaning it feels like there's an impact, you know, whenever you swing your sword around and take out 20 dudes at a time. I mean, there's not much else I can say about this game. It's kind of just mindless, you know, hour at a time fun. I can't really see anybody taking off a day of work to play this game, but I think it's a fun game to play once in a while, like when you forget that it's actually in your Steam library. Like I said at the start, the game does take place in large open areas. There's pretty much no restrictions, so you'll just be running through these areas getting loot that's corrupted, which means that if you die while you have this corrupted loot, you'll lose it. So you have to go and get your loot cleansed at the main hub. That's kind of where the extraction aspect of the game comes into play. Overall, you know, it's not a game I don't think you could play for over 40 hours over the course of a few months, but I wanted to add it because it's a good game that you can just kind of turn your brain off to, you know, once you're comfortable with the controls. Number 2, Tainted Grail Fall of Avalon. It's pretty much indie Skyrim with a bonfire system, skills, lots of loot, and some cool movement abilities as well. Need I say more? This one is one I haven't actually played yet, but I am looking forward to it. Your boy is broke, but so I made sure that this was a good video. I did do quite a bit of research on it, and I can at least explain to you at a basic level what it's all about. So like I said, indie Skyrim. Obviously, it's not as big as Skyrim in terms of content density and just the overall scope and scale. But Tainted Grail offers pretty unique game mechanics that are on par, and honestly, they look sometimes better than some of the Skyrim's game mechanics. A few things to know about this game is that yes, it's open world with kind of morally gray quest lines. That's how it's described. You can steal, fish, craft, brew potions, cook, and a lot more. Combat ranges from sword and shield to having a one-handed sword and using magic, bows and arrows, dual-wielding daggers, and a lot more options. Enemies can even be looted after you kill them, which that's always a nice addition, and I think that's a pretty similar feeling to something like an Elder Scrolls game would have. There's even a character building mechanic to the game, which allows you freedom to choose how you want to play. You could put your primary stats into becoming a mage, a tank character, a hunter, and so on. This game is $30 on Steam, but I have seen it on sale within the last week, so it's safe to assume that it goes on sale quite a bit, and I think it was half off the last time I saw it. The Steam reviews are good. I've actually seen numerous reviews say that this game feels somewhat like Oblivion, and I know that some of you really like Oblivion, so that works out great. I've seen people talk about how the combat is hard, and you can kind of already tell just by looking at it. I'm not sure if this is the right term, but the combat feels meatier than Skyrim. It's like Skyrim Combat 1.5, and when I say that, I mean that it looks to be a slight improvement over Skyrim's combat mechanics, and I think that the visuals as well, like the combat visuals, help to give it that quote-unquote meatier feel to it. Overall, I'm really stoked to get this game, and I'm also stoked, and I'm glad I covered this before I actually played it, because I want to see how my description of it and how my initial thoughts of it changes after I've played it a bit. Number 3, the Bloodline. Ooh. This game is like if you combined RuneScape, Skyrim, and Vermintide. It's an open world, goofy kind of RPG where you get resources, find crazy gear, use magic, go on big ol' adventures, and grapple around the world, and you can even shoot enemies with a musket. Or you could just get a job sweeping the city streets. Yes, you can get a job sweeping the city streets. There's a lot you can do in this game, and it would take an entire video just to explain to you how cool this game is. It's like one of those games where on the outside, like looking at the screenshots on Steam, it doesn't look like it has all that much to it. You just kind of think to yourself, oh, it's a funny little cartoony game, but once you actually start playing, it's the complete opposite. You know, things start to get revealed to you where you have moments where you're like, oh, you can do that? There's small little details to this game that are pretty unexpected. Like when you're making your character, for example, you can select the height of your character and it actually can change how you play some parts of the game once you get to those parts. Oh, by the way, the character creation in this game is pretty detailed. It's almost like this game was designed with one word in mind. Like at the studio, they had a whiteboard and there was one word on it, and it was just fun. Even jumping around like the castle and doing parkour will level up your stamina, and it's really fun to do. It's like the game is the perfect amount of rewarding and punishing, and you get more rewarded for small things. The map isn't the biggest in the world, but you can tell that it's dense with things to do and kind of like side hustles to focus on, like foraging, mining, cooking, and a lot more. Something I noticed is that the weapons in the game, they don't feel like mindless stat boosters. It feels like however you decide to approach combat feels unique to itself, and it's amazing that a smaller studio has managed to capture that feeling. It's that feeling of a new weapon actually feeling like it matters. If you want an easy game to get into that's hard to put down, Bloodline is 100% something you should pick up. The price tag is $20 on Steam, and during sales, I've seen it get down to $10. Don't quote me on that. I think it can go lower. I'm not entirely sure. Either way, I think that you can easily get your money's worth even if you did pay full price for this game. Number 4, Kingdom Come Deliverance 1. So I have talked about a few lesser known games that might be able to hold you over until the Elder Scrolls 6, but now I want to talk about a few games that you may know of that will give you hundreds of hours of gameplay. Kingdom Come Deliverance is a game that I absolutely love. I'm actually planning on doing another playthrough on my stream sometime in the future, which, by the way, I host on this channel. So if you're into streams, then you should 100% subscribe and turn notifications on. Shameless plug, but whatever. I feel like Kingdom Come, at least in my opinion, is like a Scrolls game. That's just how I feel. The only differences is that Kingdom Come is more realistic, it's harder, it doesn't have any crazy fantasy, tones or settings in the game. The game is based in a recreation of the medieval kingdom of Bohemia, and if you don't know, Bohemia is just like, it was an imperial state in the Holy Roman Empire, and this game's really good at making you feel like you're back in the early 15th century. In the game, you play as this dude named Henry. I won't spoil much, but he goes on a quest for revenge, and he just gets him way over his head. For me, I felt a bit weird playing an RPG as a predetermined, already made character, and I think I speak for most people who've played this game, but after a while, I started to actually feel like Henry. I was thinking to myself, often, what would Henry do in this situation? It's really interesting to see his character progression throughout the game, going from just this innocent guy who helps his parents around the house, to participating and even helping plan and lead big medieval battles. The combat system in this game is super unique, and it's really hard, dude. It's hard to pick up. It takes a while to get used to, but once you're kind of used to it, it's really fun. And it's not like a turn your brain off and swing your sword everywhere and kill everybody kind of game. You have to be kind of paying attention when you're in a fight, which is something that I like. There's a ton of side quests you can do. You can get into bar fights with drunk people. You can duel swords with a knight looking to prove his worth. Adventure through some of the best looking forests in any game I've ever played. Steal gear you can't afford. Take a bath when you get dirty. Eat and drink with your famished, and a shit ton more. As a fair warning though, the cutscenes in the game can get kind of long and boring, but if you pay attention and understand what's going on and really engage yourself in this, they can be really engaging. I think the story of this game is what really shines. The story is kind of what propels the rest of the game for me, so if you're looking for a really good concrete RPG with a sequel coming up, I think you'll like this game. Number 5, Elder Scrolls Online. Oh, the Elder Scrolls Online. Oh boy. Most of you probably already know about this game, and I haven't really talked about it at all on this channel, actually. But if you are subscribed to this channel or if you are watching this video, odds are you've played it or at least tried it before. The reason I'm adding this one in here is, yeah, while I do think it's a good replacement for like an Elder Scrolls game, I also added it for selfish reasons because I need a good excuse to play it again. In my opinion, ESO has climbed out of the gutter. When this game first launched, I was hyped beyond comprehension. I was a junior in high school and I was so excited. After the game came out though, the excitement just kind of fell flat for me for many years after release. Since I picked it back up though, shortly after graduating high school, I have sank well over 200 hours into it, but I never got super far on one character. I kind of always just like hopped around on different characters trying shit out. With the recent expansion, the Gold Road, I have been wanting to get back in this game so bad. The Gold Road takes place in the Westweald, which if you don't know, is a region in the Colovian province in Cyrodiil. And yes, that is why I want to play, because it is set in an area from Oblivion, and more importantly, my favorite city, Skingrad. Best city ever. ESO has the potential to give you hundreds of hours of playtime, and for some people, thousands. There's just a lot you can do, you know? I'm not sure how else to expand on that. I feel like nothing in the game, like no activity in the game is super fleshed out, but the quantity is there, but it's not the bad kind of quantity in my opinion. There's crafting, gathering, mining, a whole skill system. I mean, it's pretty much an Elder Scrolls game, but without that single player magical touch. Even playing solo in ESO is fun, which is where most, if not all of my playtime came from. The battlegrounds were always a highlight for me, getting in a large group of like 50 allies and going from castle to castle, defending and taking them as you go. At some points, it can be incredibly fun doing the battlegrounds, and of course, other times you're left wandering the map for an hour looking for actual action. Most of what I did, though, in ESO was just side questing. I still played some of the main quests, but in classic Elder Scrolls fashion, I felt that some of the side quests were a little bit easier to keep up with and felt more rewarding. Going off of quest, there's a shit ton of lore in this game, and if that's something you're interested in, you're going to have a great time. I've had a few people, though, in my stream chat tell me that some of the ESO lore is kind of fluff or downright just kind of made up. I have not actually looked into that myself or fact-checked that at all, but I think that if you enjoy learning more about ESO in terms of like general lore, then you have a lot to do in this game. That's going to be it for the main top 5, and I'm so happy you made it this far, because as promised, I have selected some honorable mentions that I think are super fun, and you may know some of these, and you may not. First up is Mount & Blade 2 Bannerlord. Oh my god. I absolutely love the Mount & Blade games. If you know, you know, and if you don't know, well, I'm going to tell you. Mount & Blade is sort of like a medieval war simulator. You start from nothing and grow your army into a force of hundreds or even thousands strong. You can become a vassal to a powerful lord, raise and loot villages, fight in battles where there are literally thousands of guys on the screen, participate in trading, you can run your own town or kingdom, pass your kingdom down to your son when your main character dies, and much more. I highly recommend this game for anybody who hasn't played it, and I'm pretty sure it's on Xbox Game Pass as well. The next game on this list has to be The Witcher 3. It has to be, guys. I've recently started a new playthrough because I was just getting the itch, and it's just something that you can't lightly scratch it. You have to go all out. If you haven't played The Witcher 3, then you should. 100% you should. For me, it's the combat and the quests in this game. The quests aren't super unique in terms of mechanics or anything like that. I'm referring to the dialogue and the characters that you meet while doing these quests. And going back on combat, this game has some of the best third-person combat I've ever played. When you're surrounded by 5 drunk soldiers who think they can take you on, you feel really powerful as you literally chop one in half. Yeah, you can literally chop people in half. With just the base game, there's probably easily a few hundred hours of gameplay if you take your time. Not to mention the DLC is among some of the best that myself and others have ever played for a game, so this is definitely worth a pickup if it's on sale. And for the final honorable mention, which I saved for last because it might not be for everybody, maybe 5% of you, it's Medieval Dynasty. Now, this game has pretty mixed reviews from what I've seen. I, however, have enjoyed it for the most part. You take on the role of some dude who has inherited a small patch of land, and you pretty much just, it's called Medieval Dynasty, okay? You make your own dynasty. Hunt for food, take out bandits, explore, gather resources, build a town, move citizens into your town, and create your own sprawling village. It's really as simple as that. It's a good second monitor game, as I like to call them. Second monitor games are just when it's easy to turn your brain off and play this game while watching a YouTube documentary or a live stream, like that guy Horse Armor. I think he live streams, and he's pretty cool. So yeah, if you like turning your brain off and building a village, Medieval Dynasty is probably for you, and also I think that one's on Game Pass as well. Anyway, that's it for the video. This was something a little different that I've been wanting to do, so let me know your thoughts and if you'd want to see more of this type of content on the channel. Let me know of any other games, by the way, that you'd like me to check out. You know, just make a suggestion. Maybe I'll make another video like this where I use suggestions from the comments. Thank you for all the support lately. Thanks for the good streams we've been having lately, and I will see you in the next video. See ya.